Gittin Daf discusses primarily the halachas of pruzbul until it gets to a mishnah that brings the topic of an eved who was captured. So pruzbul, which we said is a manner of collecting a loan which is due and Shemitah should cancel, and it's collected by giving the loan over to the court, that the court collects it on behalf of the lender. The Gemara says there's a number of rules. So the Gemara first says that a yasim, orphans, don't require a pruzbul, and that's because all their obligations, anything which is payable to them, is collectible by the court, the Beis Din. The Gemara says Rabban Gamliel and his Beis Din are the fathers of all orphans. Rabban Gamliel was a nasi at the time, and it means to say that orphans are the responsibility of the nasi of every generation, the Beis Din Gadol. Therefore, anything that's owed to them is really already considered to be given over to the court to make sure it is collected. Next, the Mishnah says you can only set up a pruzbul for a loan which is secured by land. That is, that the borrower owns land, that you could collect the loan by taking that land as a lien. And the reason is, Rashi explains, because most loans at the time of Chazal had land securing them, and therefore the takana of pruzbul is only made in the majority situation, which is when there's land there. Now, if the borrower doesn't have any land, that's not a problem. The lender could give him a gift of land, whether he wants to receive it or not. It could be mazaket to him. He takes a piece of his own land, he mazaket him, and then he owns land. How much land does he have to give him? Says any tiny amount, even the size of a stalk of cabbage. And the reason is because you could collect it a number of times. He could collect much more than the value of that land by collecting it, selling it back to him, and then collecting it again, and he's forced to buy it back. Now, says Rav Yehuda, even if he only lends him space, even if he lends him just space where he can keep his oven or he can keep his stove, we could write a pruzbul on that. And the one has a kasha, because it's an Amira by the name of Hillel, who brings a brisa that says you can only write a pruzbul if somebody has a flower pot with a hole in it. Flower pot with a hole in it, the dirt in the flower pot is considered connected to the ground. It's considered like he's owning land. Implication there is that if it would be a flower pot without a hole in it, you cannot use that. But what about the space that is taking up? He's either owning it or borrowing it, just like we talked about the oven and the stove. So my answer is no. It could be that the flower pot is on stilts, it's on legs, and therefore there is no land that he owns. Now Rav Ashi, the Gemara says, would give a cut tree trunk to the borrower, and that would be the property that he owned, that he could write a pruzbul based on that. The Rabbanan of Rav Ashi's yeshiva would give their loans to each other verbally. They would verbally say, you're going to collect my loan for me, you can be the court to collect mine for me. Rav Yonasan gave his loans over in pruzbul verbally to Chibar Abba. Now he said to me, you need something else? He said, no, I don't need something else, meaning you don't need to have it written down. Now, what if the borrower doesn't have any land, but there is someone else involved who has land? So let's say he has a guarantor. So you could theoretically collect the loan from the guarantor, and the guarantor has land, even though the borrower himself doesn't have land. So Gemara says that's good enough. Also, even if there's no guarantor who has land, but there's someone else who owes land, who owes property, who owes money, that is, to the borrower. Let's say Reuven owes money to the borrower whose name is Shimon, and Shimon owes money to our lender whose name is Levi. So you have a concept called Shibud de Rav Nosson, and the Gemara brings a brisa of Rav Nosson who says that what actually happens here is that Reuven owes money to Shimon, Shimon owes money to Levi, so Reuven really owes the money directly to Levi, and therefore there is a lien on Reuven's land. So if Reuven has land, even if Shimon doesn't, Levi can write a pruzbul on the money that's owed to him. Now, what is the source of that Reuven owes directly to Levi? It says, which we learn out, if you owe it to him, then it's considered to be part of everything that is owed over there. The Gemara now moves into the halachas of Shemitah, not so much halachas of pruzbul, which types of loans are canceled and which are not, and what happens when a loan actually is canceled. How do you move forward? So first, the Gemara discusses three types of loans. You could have a loan which is recorded, it's written in a shtar, there's a document, and there is a lien. This is a very heavily secured loan. It's what we would call the highest level of security. You've got the document written down. You have the lien on land that you can collect from. And the next level below that would be as if it's written in a document, but there is no lien on land. And the level beneath that would be if it's not even written. You just lend somebody money and you didn't write anything. You just have a oral agreement that he's going to pay the money back. So the question is, which of these is Mishamit? So the Gemara quotes a Mishnah, and it refers to that one of these is, one of these isn't, and we don't know which of the three are the two that the Mishnah is referring to. So the Mishnah says Shemitah cancels a loan whether it's written in the document or it's not written in the document. Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish understand this to mean this simple understanding. It's referring to level 2 or level 3, whether it's written in the document or it's not written in the document. It's just an oral loan. Either way, it's canceled. If it is written in the document and there's a lien, that the Mishnah is not referring to, that would not be canceled. And the reason is because the site is collected already. You have a lien that's written, it's easy for you to get, it's collectible, no problem. Now, if Rav and Shmuel disagree. Rav and Shmuel say no. The two that the Mishnah is referring to when it says that they are canceled is referring to the highest level and the middle level, and Kal V'chomer is certainly the lowest level. So therefore, all three levels are canceled. The highest level is what we refer to when we say it's written in the document. We mean it's written and secured. The second level, when we say it's not written, we mean that it is written, but there is no lien. There's no property securing it. And the third, where it's oral, we didn't even talk about that. That would certainly, Shemitah would cancel because you have to go and claim it from the guy. It's far from being easily collected. So we end up with the machlokas between Rav and Shmuel. Between Rav and Shmuel against Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish, what is the halacha of a loan which is written down and has a lien securing it? Do you have to forgive that loan after the end of Shemitah? According to Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish, you do not. Shemitah doesn't apply to it, because it's like it's collected already. The guy doesn't have to go run after you. He could just take the property away. However, according to Rav and Shmuel, you would have to forgive that loan, and the regular halachas of Shemitah would apply. It says the Gemara, we have a brisa which very clearly supports Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish. It says if you have a shtar chayv, you have a contract of a loan, it is mishamet. It's canceled by Shemitah. And if it has a lien on it, it is not canceled by Shemitah, explicitly like Rav Yochanan and like Reish Lakish. Says Gemara, have another brisa, and says that if somebody sets aside a specific field for the lender to collect, then it's not mishamet. Not only that, but even if he doesn't set aside a specific field, but he says all my property has a lien to you, it is all responsible and it is all guaranteeing the loan, it is also not mishamet. That is far less secure. If the guy says all my property, it's much harder to get it away from him than if he just says this specific thing belongs to you. Then he's already like he's holding it. Okay, now the Gemara brings an incident that helps us show what the halacha actually is over here. The Gemara says that Rav Asi had a relative who had lent money to someone with a shtar and a lien on property. So it's the subject of our machlokes. And he came before Rav Asi and said, is this loan canceled by Shemitah or not? And he said, no, Shemitah does not cancel the loan, going according with the Pesach of Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish, like we saw as a brisa. So then that relative went to Rav Yochanan himself, and Rav Yochanan said, no, it is mishamet. It is canceled by Shemitah. So Rav Asi came to Rav Yochanan and he said, is it canceled or is it not canceled? And he said, it is canceled. So he said, well, you're the one who said that it's not canceled. So he said, I'm concerned, I'm afraid that it's not canceled. Therefore, I would pay it, but I should take money away from this guy. And that far, I'm not willing to go. So he said, what do you mean, there's a brisa? We said, there's a brisa that supports you. So he said, that brisa is not necessarily a proof, because there's a machlokes between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. If a loan that's made with a document and a security is considered collected. So according to Beis Shammai, it's considered collected. And that brisa may be holding like Beis Shammai, and since it's considered collected, the brisa said Shemitah doesn't cancel it. However, don't know that we paskin halacha l'maaseh that way, because maybe Beis Hillel, who says that a loan that's secured is not considered collected, would disagree and say that Shemitah would cancel it, because you do have to go to him and make a claim. The main halacha of Shemitah is that you don't make a claim. Okay, says the Gemara, we have a Mishnah that says, what happens if you have a mashkon? What happens if not only do you have a lien, but you actually are given a security? You're holding on to an object which you could use to collect. It's a collateral you could use to collect if the borrower doesn't come through and make the payment. So the Gemara quotes the brisa that says if somebody lends with a mashkon, or if somebody gives over his contracts to the court to collect, these are not canceled by Shemitah. So I understand if you give over your contracts to the court, so that means that the Beis Din is going to grab it for you, because that's what the Beis Din will do, and therefore it's considered collected already. There's no problem. However, if there's a mashkon, what does that have to do with anything? So the Gemara says because he's already holding it, he doesn't need to go collect. He doesn't need he's not missing collection. He's already holding the value. So Abaye said, so if that's true, so let's say the lender has the borrower living in his house or living in his yard. So he also doesn't have to go run after him because he already has his property here. So you would say that it's also not going to be canceled by Shemitah because he already has it. So the Gemara says, no, this is different. A mashkon you already own. When a lender is holding on to collateral, it's considered to be the property of the lender. How do you see that? Well, something that Rabbi Yitzchak said. He said that the Torah says, when you return the mashkon, so the person can use it if he has nothing else, if he needs it. So the Torah calls it charity. So why is it charity if he doesn't own it? Obviously, it's considered to be the property and the possession of the lender, even though he's only holding on to it as collateral, and therefore Shemitah cannot cancel it anymore. Okay, now the Gemara discusses how we actually cancel the loan. So the Gemara says that you should come to pay the loan after Shemitah, and the lender should say, I'm canceling it, I'm not collecting from you. You should say, Mishamet ani, I cancel the loan. Now, the borrower could still say, even so. He could still say, even though you canceled the loan, I'm giving it to you anyway. I would like to give you this money as a gift. The Gemara says you shouldn't call it a repayment of the loan. You shouldn't say anything like that, but you should say, I'm giving it to you as a gift. And if he says that, then the lender is allowed to take the money. It's not forbidden to take the money. It's only forbidden to take it as a repayment or to demand it. Now, why do you have to say it out? Gemara says because the Torah says v'zeh devar hashmita. These are the words. Literally means this is the thing, but these are the words. There's another translation. These are the words of Shemitah. You have to actually say mishamet. Now, says Rabbah, you could say your mishamet and then force the guy to pay. You could hang him up. You could put him under tremendous stress until he agrees to give it to you as a gift. You have to say that you're not collecting, but you can personally make life uncomfortable for him until he can't go to court, but you could do it that way. So Abaye's kasha, how could that be? We said that if the borrower wants to repay anyway, he has to say, he should not say, this is my loan. He should just say, this is my money and I'm giving to you as a gift. So how are you saying that the guy can force him? So says Rabbah, no problem. He'll force him to give it as a gift. And he'll say that it's a gift. He should follow the rules, but you could just force him. Right, now the Gemara brings it inside. The Gemara says that Rabbah was owed money by Abba Bar Marta, who was also known as Abba Bar Minyumi. The Gemara said elsewhere that he was one of the Rabbanim, but he was not known for his wisdom. So the Gemara says that he came to repay the money to Rabbah after Shemitah, and Rabbah said, as is the halacha mishamet, I cancel it, and he took the money and he left. So Abaye was Talmud of Rabbah, came and he found that Rabbah was upset. So he said, why is the master upset? And he said, this and this is what happened. This is the story. So Abaye went to talk to Abba Bar Marta. He said, did you bring money to Rabbah? He said, yes. Did he say Mishamet Ani? Yes. Did you say Afal Pikain? He said, no. He said, as no, if you would say Afal Pikain, he would be very happy to accept it from you. So Abba Bar Marta went and he returned the money to Rabbah, and he said, Afal Pikain. He said, even though you're Mishamet, I want to give it to you anyway. So Rabbah commented, and he said, this Talmid Chacham, this Rabbi, if he would have brains, if he would have knowledge and understanding, he would have said so in the first place. It says more further, it says Rav Yehuda, in the name of Rav Nachman, a person is believed to say, I had a prosbul and I lost it. If he comes to court to collect with a prosbul, he doesn't have to show it. He could say, I lost it. Why? Because the assumption is that he must have had one. Since you can legally get a prosbul, it doesn't make sense that he would not have a prosbul and collect in Isser. He would violate the halacha of la yigos if he has a simple solution. That can't be. So therefore we assume that he has it. It says not only that, but even if he doesn't say he had a prosbul, we will say for him that he has a prosbul. So Mara asks, this is a contradiction to the Mishnah we learned in Ksubis. It says that if somebody comes to collect and he doesn't have a prosbul, it's after Shemitah, you cannot collect. The Mishnah is a machlokes tanaim. We have a brisa that says if somebody who brings a contract to collect, he has to have a prosbul with him, and the Chachamim say he does not have to. All right, this concludes the Gemara, and now we get to our next Mishnah, which discusses what happens if an Eved was captured, was taken prisoner, and somebody wants to redeem him, not the original owner. So you have the Eved, it belongs to Reuven, Reuven didn't redeem him. Shimon goes and redeems him. What happens to the Eved afterwards? Is he go back to Reuven? Does he become the Eved of Shimon, or does he go free? So the Mishnah says it depends what Shimon had in mind when he redeemed him. If he had in mind to redeem him that he should be an Eved, he should be an Eved. If he had in mind for him to be free, then he should be free. That's the Tanna Kamma's opinion. If Shimon ben Gamliel says he should be an Eved